That your girl, Sunshine? Yeah, Sarge. We hope to get married in the little church by the river once I get enough dough and a promotion to do so. Oh, that's really nice. Too bad you won't live to see it happen. What? No! No! Ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Series 10, Episode 9, The Empress of Mars. Now, a little confession here. I'm not, nor have I ever been, the biggest fan of the Ice Warriors stories. I like the characters, the villains, the monsters, the Ice Warriors, but I've never really gotten into their stories. Ice Warriors I'm not really keen on. My friend Matthew Moore doesn't like it. He would actually watch the Dominators over it. I think the only one he actually doesn't hate is episode 6. And he would rather watch that than on Dominators episode 2. But for story-wise, he would rather watch the Dominators, which is season 6's worst after the Space Pirates. Seeds of Death, which is in said season, Ice Warriors was season 5. I liked it the first time round, but the second time round it was so boring and dragged. And there was this character who I thought was bland, so bland, it's like, no, I don't like her more than... I like Clara more than her, even though lots of other people don't like Clara. I couldn't even remember her name. What was her name? Miss Keslick or something. Ugh, she's so bland, she's so boring, she's a terrible performance the actress does. I don't know why she was included on the front cover of the special edition DVD. She's so boring. Hope she got fired after that, because, my gosh, she's bland and boring, twice as worse as Clara. Maybe more. Curse of Peladon is the only decent of the Brian Hayles written Ice Warrior stories. I think he also wrote the Celestial Toymaker. That might be his best one, but I've only seen episode 4, and apparently 1 to 3 aren't that good. But out of his 4 Ice Warrior stories, Curse of Peladon is the most decent. At least the least worst. This is televised ones, I'm not counting the one, Planet of the Big, the Red Planet one, that Seeds of Death had to replace, nor any other Big Finish book or other expanded media stories. So, Lords of the Red Planet, that was the original story. Stats and the 5th Doctor one on Peladon, that doesn't count. They don't count, nor do the unmade ones for the 6th and 7th Doctors. Mission to Magnus and Thin Ice, the original Thin Ice. The new Thin Ice is Series 10. I forgot to mention that in my review of that story. But Curse of Peladon's alright, it's pretty good. It's the shortest of the 4 as well. It's 4 episodes, the rest are 6 of the original 4 stories. And I guess that's why it's better, because it's over quicker. The Monster of Peladon, the sequel, on the other hand, is absolute shit. It is the worst, to quote Donald Trump, the worst story of Doctor Who ever, and the Space Pirates just happens to be even worse, judging if episodes 1 and 3 to 6 are as bad as episode 2. Which is the worst single episode. But if the rest of the story is as bad as that, then I think we've got a new worst episode, worst story of all time. But the full story, Monster of Peladon is just the worst. It is just absolute shit. And I think I mentioned this at the end of my last review, or at the end of the Pirates one. It's a shit with a turd on top, and it doesn't smell nice. It is absolute shit. The only good things about that story is Agador and the Doctor. And Sarah Jane calling the really annoying, nasty character a pompous something. Can't remember the line, but she she shouted at him, so that was good on Sarah Jane. Yes, Sarah Jane was good. Oh, and Alpha Centauri. How can we forget Alpha Centauri? Yes, there's some good things about it, and there's some good things about Curse, but Curse probably did them a bit better, and yeah, Alpha Centauri was a pretty good one, even if the voice got a bit annoying that time. So I think if this episode had been shorter, I think it would have been slightly better, but 6 episodes, God. Also, the Ice Warriors turned out to be evil. Wow! Big shock! I mean, I know they were good in Curse of Peladon, and the people in Peladon didn't expect them to be evil in Monster, but then they turned out this was a rogue group or something. Yeah, well, the Ice Warriors were villains in the previous 2 stories before Curse, so shock, I suppose. It's not like this is their second appearance and they turned good halfway through. Oh well. Well, the next televised story would come about nearly 40 years later, because the first one was 67, the second one was 69, the third was 72, and the fourth was 74. Number 5 would be the first televised story since 1974, and that was Cold War in 2013, about 40 years, nearly 40 years later. Like I said, they didn't make Mission to Magnus, which would have been in 86, or Thin Ice, the original, in 1990, which would have been starring the 6th and 7th Doctors respectively, and still would have turned up in Mission to Magnus, and Thin Ice would have seen Ace go to Gallifrey at the end. Hi guys, I don't know what happened, but something went wrong with the previous bit of footage. Now they cut off at 15 to 16 minutes in, but that's not what happened this time. That's what saved the next bit of footage, but unfortunately that's now unusable. No, just, I don't know, something happened. So, after I'd finished talking about the 7th Doctor, Thin Ice, that had been planned for season 27, and was about to go on to talk about Cold War, it just, the sound went off, and it looked like it was stuck on a playback thing. So, I'm just going to have to redo the review again from talking about the Ice Warrior stories. So, continuing from where we all left off, there's documentaries on the Trial of the Time Lord and Survival DVDs about seasons 23 and 27, the unmade 23, and what was going to be the unmade 27. 23, of course, became Trial of the Time Lord, and 27 didn't happen because the show was cancelled after season 26. Though, then again, with the revival series 1, I suppose you could call season 27. So, yeah, Monster of Peladon was the last televised story for about 39 years, until 2013's Cold War in Series 7, or Season 33. I don't know if I mentioned this in the other footage, but it was Seasons 5, 6, 9 and 11 for the other ones in 67, 69, 72 and 74. With the 2nd and 3rd Doctors, both having 2 stories each, and Mission to Magnus and Thin Ice, yeah, I did mention this, would have featured the 6th and 7th Doctors respectively in 1986 and 1990, had those stories been written. But, you know, Cold War, it's probably the best of the 5, but, again, it's still not that great. It's got a nice historical touch to it, rather than the present day or futuristic. Actually, is Ice Warriors even in the present day? No, I think it's in the future. There's more a futuristic feeling up until Cold War, which then it becomes a past one, so no Ice Warriors in the present day. Yeah, Cold War's alright, but it's not as good as this one. But I think it's better than the other 4, and then Curse. I'd then go with Ice Warriors, then Seeds, and then Monster. So what happens in this story is that NASA discovers underneath a North Mars polar cap is the message, God Save the Queen, which we'll find out a bit more later. So the Doctor, Bill and Nard will go to Mars, and they discover Victorian soldiers on the planet, and Ice Warrior in a nest. Nardole accidentally... Well, he goes back to the TARDIS and then it's taken. I wonder if the Master's in control of that. We'll find out later. Hopefully, we'll find out later in the series. And so he has to get Missy's help to go back to Mars. Meanwhile, the Doctor and Bill have to make sure the Ice Warriors and the Victorian soldiers don't come out with a fight. Because Friday got the Victorian soldiers helped Friday, the Ice Warrior, to get to Mars so he can revive his queen. And now she's reviving her Ice Warriors. However, a war accidentally breaks out, and this captain guy, I can't remember his name, I did look it up whilst editing and then I've forgotten again. I'm just going to call him C like I did last time. Anyway, C, who's second in command, then takes command because he reveals that the Colonel was a coward, a runaway, who had been they had attempted to execute but failed, and now I guess he's doing penance in his way. It's kind of making up for what he's done, but C, being the bastard he is, he's quite alright to start with, but then once they discover the Ice Warrior tomb, at least for the Ice Queen, he starts to become a not very nice character, and once he takes command he becomes a bit of a bastard. Real douche, especially when he throws the black guy, no offence, into the aim of one of the Ice Warriors and kills him, and he just hides around the corner. One thing that I didn't like was his line afterwards, "I'll sod this for a game of soldiers." That was quite funny. It was his thing that happened beforehand that I didn't like, and that was the death of the other guy, who we got to got to know a little bit a bit earlier when talking to I think it was the Sergeant Major, about getting married to this girl on the church by the river. Oh, that was a nice scene. And then, like I showed in the sketch, they died. The both of them. Those were pretty good characters. Especially the black guy. He was quite nice and got to see quite a bit of him in action. Both metaphorically and also just standing around. Got to see him do a couple of stuff. But, yeah, I would have liked it if he survived. I would have liked it if he was the main guy we spent some time with and not became a sacrificial lamb like those guys in Cold War, one of which had a picture of his daughter and wife, and the Doc's just like, oh no. Yeah. I would say this story's got better motivations for the Ice Warriors to have their war just over Cold War. I suppose it was an honorary thing in Cold War, but this one kind of is. I think they were kind of attacked, and that's why they declare war. And the Doctor's just trying to stop them, and Bill is helping. She and Friday want to form an alliance so they can work together. The Doctor manages to get them to work together by pressing to blow up the ice polar cap unless the Queen stands down. Also, C, being the idiot bastard he is, he tries to take the Queen so she can pilot his ship. He didn't expect her to kill him. At least that's what would have happened if the Colonel hadn't intervened and killed C himself and allowed himself to be prepared for execution by the Queen or the Ice Warriors, so long as the others can live. And she lets him live as well because he is being honourable. The Doctor then contacts someone to help the Ice Warriors, and they put the big "God Save the Queen" message up, and then they're able to go back home in the TARDIS. And nice couple of Easter eggs to notice in this story. You got the picture of the Queen, Queen Victoria, that's of Pauline Collins from Tooth and Claw, which took place in 1879, and this is 1881, so it's 2 years later. And there's still a wood set. Sonic Screwdriver still hasn't got a setting for wood. First talked about in Science in the Library. And Alpha Centauri appears. Alpha Centauri, of course, from the Peladon stories, and was one of the better things from those stories, despite, like I said, the voice. Can be a bit irritating, but not not too much. And he, with her voice, looks good. Maybe it's a younger version just by having an older woman's voice. I say older woman, it's the same actress, but years later. It has been about 43 years since Monster, and 45 since Curse. And also 50 since the original first Ice Warrior story later in the year, about November time. Yeah, it's pretty good. This story has some great moments. I didn't like C, as I've been mentioning, though his line was quite funny and was quite charming until they found the Ice Queen's tomb. The actor did a pretty good job with him nonetheless. He's one of those characters like the pompous idiots. I think that's what Sarah Jane calls that character I don't like in Monster of Peladon. It's thanks to that character and ones from Genesis of the Daleks that hating the characters that C is like, especially if they're prominent throughout the episode. And I let Davros have a free pass in Genesis because it's Davros. Enough said, and neither of his assistant wasn't that bad, but quite a few others. And Monster had the same problem with this one particular character until he started to stand against the Ice Warriors, which was, he became a bit better. That was close to halfway through the story, and thank God he did die. I'm glad he died, and in this story, I'm glad C died. So, yeah, that's Monster. No, it's Monster, I don't want to talk about that. That's Empress of Mars. It's good. It's not brilliant. I don't like the effects that they turn the Victorian soldiers into the balls. I'd rather they just went back to the sonic guns. Because the effect in the 60s, that looked awesome. And all the lasers from Cold War. But, yeah, it's a pretty good story. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's not perfect, but it's the damn best Ice Warrior story so far on telly. Is it the best Ice Warrior story, period? Might be. I have to see about the others. But, yeah, I like the Ice Warriors, but the story's just, they're not so great. I don't think Matt likes the Ice Warriors as characters either. I would like to see the Yetis come back. That's a good thing, and that's what Matt wanted. He wants the Yetis to come back. So yeah, let's bring back the Yetis next season. I don't think we've had this series last 2-3 seasons. We haven't had a monster returning that hasn't already come back from either the new or classic series. No, I'm correct. I'm correct with that. Davros and the Daleks, we've had Zygons, they all came back at least once before in the new series. Cybermen, Weeping Angels. This year, Daleks and Ice Warriors and Cybermen coming up. Although the Mondasian Cybermen will be back for the first time in 51 years later this year. But they're still Cybermen. So, yeah, that's Empress of Mars. Next week, Ronan Munro, the writer of Survival, the last classic story, will be back for Eaters of Light. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time for Ronan Munro's The Eaters of Light. I'll see you guys next time. Matt should be glad about this episode. It's being set in Aberdeenshire. Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Doctor Who, Series 10, Episode 9, The Empress of Mars. Now, a little confession to this one. Whoops. Crap. We'll start that again. Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Doctor Who, Series 9... Fuck. What? No! 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 Ah! What? No! 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 I keep missing it. Hang on. Too bad you won't be living to see it happen. Oh, I need to do it again. Voice. Eyes.